The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
I have to say, it covers a lot more territory than just this. This is probably an easy thing, relatively speaking, for you. I would like you to speak to the medical doctors to see if there's any way that you can apply light and heat to cure. You know, that if you could. And maybe you can, maybe you can't. Again, I say maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not a doctor. But I'm like a person that has a good, you know what.
But, sir, you're the president.
Deborah, have you ever heard of that? The heat and the light relative to certain viruses, yes, but relative to this virus?
Not as a treatment. I mean, certainly fever is a good thing. When you have a fever, it helps your body respond. But not as, I've not seen heat or light.
I think it's a great thing to look at. I mean, you know. Okay.
It is not possible for us to be in a more ridiculous timeline. Like, legitimately, we are in the stupidest timeline imaginable. No one would ever, if we take us back, take our world back to, let's just say, 2007. I just picked a year. And someone put out a book about a global pandemic that that potentially could kill millions of people, and currently in the process of killing 2,000 people a day on average. That's right. The coronavirus, more than 875,000 Americans have contracted the coronavirus. 2,000 a day on average have died in this month alone. Now imagine we put out a book about the severe pandemic of this scale, this magnitude, that's going to tank the economy. 30 million people unemployed or more. And everyone is quarantined at home. And fear has seeped in because we're seeing images on media. And then you say we're being led by a man who's going to suggest that we inject disinfectants into our bloodstream, and that we're going to use sunlight and UV rays to treat the virus and somehow get that sunlight on the inside of our body. If you wrote a book like that, it would certainly fall into a B movie. It would have to be it would be like Idiocracy. And yet that's the world that we live in. That is our reality. This is where we are. Like, I don't imagine when you feel like it can't get any dumber, when you feel like it could not get any more ignorant, the president of the United States manages to escalate to a level that you did not think possible. So much so that Lysol had to come out yesterday and today and say, absolutely not. Do not put Lysol in your body. Bleaching companies are having to tell people don't drink bleach, don't eat Tide Pods, because of course those things are going to kill the virus, but it's going to kill the virus by killing you. That's the reality. And that's the reality of our lives that we're living in. I'm not really sure if there's an end point to this, if there's an end game to his ignorance, because he is completely and totally, first of all, he has a bottom. He has a bottom of 36%. That no matter what this man does, it doesn't matter how ignorant. I mean, hell, they're out there protesting on his behalf. They're doing what they're liberating their states. So I don't think that there's a bottom, because he's going to always have that floor of 36%. So his bottom is 36% of Americans are as ignorant as he is, or as ignorant as he needs them to be to continue supporting him. But I don't think there's any end to his ignorance. I don't think that somewhere along the line, he's going to finally realize, oh, well, maybe I should just be quiet. Maybe I should just let the expert speak. No, it's not going to happen. He has shown an unparalleled ability to go further and further and further into his ignorance. And we, as an American people, as humanity, because it's not just America being affected by him, we have been left at the mercy. Our political system is completely incapable, 100% incapable of handling him. That's his ultimate power. We are completely incapable of handling Donald Trump. Our system does not have the capacity or the ability, quite frankly, to handle a president who is as moronic and poses such an existential threat. Like, here's the thing. At what point will somebody save us from Donald Trump? At what point will some political lever, some machination, some process, some institution, something save us from this man in the White House? Because even if like you think electoral politics, well, he isn't leaving office until January 21st, 2021. So we've still got quite a bit of time with Donald Trump in power, causing this kind of havoc, wreaking this kind of havoc on the American people and the nation and the globe, rather. Folks, this man, he cannot afford another 4 years. And the sad part about it is, I really believe the Democrats have put us in a position where he's going to get another 4 years. That's absolutely what it looks like. I mean, when you look at the competition, when you look at the ability, this is the thing. This is the kicker. When you look at the Republican Party's ability to ignore how dangerous this man is, how ignorant this man is, how utterly bigoted, like the bigotry is like the least of their concerns. They're actually okay with the bigotry. They're fine with that. But they're able to say, he might be an imbecilic moron who's going to get millions of Americans killed. But you know what? He still is appointing conservative judges to the bench. So he's our guy. He still has like a 96% approval rating amongst Republicans. He still has a general 36% approval rating amongst all Americans. There's no guarantee that even the best. Honestly, when Bernie Sanders looked like he was going to win the primary, I still had doubts about our ability to beat Donald Trump, only because I think everyone is underestimating the extent to which Republicans and conservatives in this country have been so indoctrinated with their hatred of anything that's not serving the Republican agenda, anything that's not serving the white Christian male power structure in this country. They are so committed to that there's really that they have an energy and a motivation that even our revolution, us revolution was going to have a hard time overcoming. And yet and still here we are. The president of the United States has put us in a position where for months, 2,000 people a day, we've gotten used to that. 2,000 people a day are dying, and yet and still there's nothing we could do about it because the president of the United States and the way our system is set up, we can't get rid of him. We can't call a snap election. We can't give a vote of no confidence in the most critical hours of our nation's history. Can you imagine? The only thing I can think of worse is like him being president during the Civil War. Obviously that would work out great for the Confederate flag waving South and Republicans across the country. Now they would love to go back to that time. But I'm just thinking, like, at what point in American history could have been more critical for us to not have this moron in the White House? And I'm sorry, I'm not just throwing pejoratives at him. Like, this man is a moron. He's telling people are literally going to somebody somewhere who trusts the president of the United States is going to inject some disinfectant into their body because the president of the United States. God, that's just how stupid America is. Not on average, on the margins. Yeah, they might be outliers, but look at the people who died from taking hydroxychloroquine. Or it was a derivation thereof. It wasn't just straight hydroxychloroquine, but then people are dying from taking actual hydroxychloroquine. I cannot. And then of course, across social media, everyone is trying to advise. Lysol put out a warning telling people to please don't inject Lysol into their bloodstream. People are hashtag don't drink bleach is trending. It is a total shit show in our country at this time. And it is being brought to you wholly in part by Donald J. Trump. Whew, God help us.
Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Here we go. Very special welcome to all of our patrons without whom, this show is not possible. Thank you to Lisa for becoming a patron. Very special welcome to Kenyon Bunny. Thank you for becoming a patron. Very special thank you to Eric Marinette. Thank you for becoming a patron. Jeff Napolitano, thank you for becoming a patron. Kim Jarvis, thank you for becoming a patron. Morgan Kimke, I think I pronounced that right. Thank you for becoming a patron. Brady, thank you so much for becoming a patron. And last but not least, Ramona Jones, thank you for becoming a patron. Let's bop for a second, everybody. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to www.patreon.com/BPD show, where you get twice the content with none of the advertisements like you're going to get right about here.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome. All right, let's get back to it. The Biden campaign. Listen, I don't even know what to say about these people anymore. They have appointed Larry Summers as his economic advisor. And if you don't know who Larry Summers is, he has a long, let me finish the headline from Bloomberg.com. Larry Summers, advising Biden campaign on economic recovery. That's even scarier. If you don't know who Larry Summers is, he has a very long resume, outlining his pure neoliberalism. And I don't think neoliberalism captures it enough. He is the quintessential deregulation, trickle down economics, part of the ruling elite. He lends intellectual credence to this broken system, and he has been a key player in maintaining that system that enriches the wealthy at the expense of the working class and the middle class, for that matter. He has been the chief deregulator, the deregulator in chief. He has fought against the very regulations in the 2000s that would have helped prevented the recession of 2007. According to the Atlantic.com, he was the face. He was one of the proponents of the Commodities Future Modernization Act of 2000. The Atlantic.com says, quote, which effectively deregulated the global market in over-the-counter derivatives and was Summers' signal achievement as Treasury Secretary. The final report of the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission, convened by Congress in 2009, puts the government's failure to rein in these derivatives at the center of the storm. Larry Summers, I don't know if there could have been anyone that Joe Biden could have picked that would have been more of a middle finger to the progressive movement. In fact, I'm not sure anyone who thinks that now, let me finish the sentence before you yell at the computer. Let me finish my thought before you yell at the computer. But for anyone who thinks that Elizabeth Warren may end up being the vice president pick, I'm not sure how that's even tenable when he is at the center of so many things that she had to fight against in the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, I know everyone is like, well, we can't trust her anyway. Well, we'll see. Because if she is the pick and Larry Summers is the economic advisor, I mean, honestly, let me shift gears. I have taken and I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what anybody from the liberal centrism establishment class says. I have taken a very delicate approach to Joe Biden. I have, because at the end of the day, Donald Trump is out here trying to tell people to inject Lysol into their bloodstream to fight coronavirus. So you understand why I would just say, okay, I don't think Biden is going to win for all the reasons I've outlined, but I'm not going to actively fight against him because we have a man in the White House who's trying to say we got to get sunlight inside of your blood to kill the coronavirus. But let me tell you something. Picking Larry Summers is such a, I mean, this is his first pick. Who's he going to get for the Secretary of the Treasury? Michael Bloomberg? Where does he go from here? How does it escalate from here? Because what he's doing is he's giving us every justifiable reason to oppose him with the same energy that we oppose Donald Trump. And here Donald Trump is telling us to put bleach in our bloodstream. I'm sorry, but this also gives me reason to believe that if they're stupid enough, if you Democratic establishment consulting class morons are so stupid that you would pick Larry Summers as your economic advisor on the recovery, then you're dumb enough to not pick a black woman to be your VP pick. And the reason that is such a clear-cut thing for me is because you're hanging on by a thread in the black community. And you cannot win without the black community. Now, granted, most of us feel like me and don't really give a shit if you pick a black woman as your VP pick, because we know that you're not going to have any policies that really help the black community. But there's still quite a few black people who are still hanging on to the representation kind of thing. Like, as long as we have representation, we're good to go. But if you're moronic enough to pick Larry Summers as your economic advisor, then you're moronic enough to snub the black community too, which means that this entire institution needs to actively be burned down to the ground. Do you understand what I'm saying? So everyone who's like, oh, Ben, you're fighting against Joe Biden. No, you have not seen fighting yet. You have not seen fighting yet. All right. So far, I've been giving him a pass. But if he's already, what am I waiting on? I don't know what I'm waiting on. I'm just waiting for all of the pieces to fall into place. I'm waiting for the Democratic Party to show everyone exactly how much they don't care about us. And listen, I've been a lifelong Democrat. I've never voted for anybody else but a Democrat. I've not voted for Green. I've not voted, only time I didn't vote was in 2004 when I was purged from the polls. And what I did that year, I was such a good Democrat, I organized about 150 people to go and vote in my stead via text message, because that's all we had. There was no Twitter or anything back then. It was just a bunch of text messages. I can't vote, so I need you to vote for me. I remember that shit. But this year, the Democratic Party has shown us that they have zero regard for black people, for working families, for white poor people, for anybody who's not a part of the ruling elite. And I don't know. I can't fight the ruling elite in the Republican Party and turn a blind eye to the ruling elite in the Democratic Party. So yesterday in the Patrons Only episode, I discussed how difficult it is to fight back against people who feel like they're woke, and what are they feel like they're enlightened, or they feel like they've had this epiphany, and it really is just this cultish mentality that is very difficult to fight against. That is all around us. There's some of it on the progressive left, some there's a lot in the centrism, but there's a whole lot in the conservative movement. And I just want to kind of give you a sampling of the links to which people go to kind of make their argument. Just bear with me. This is just one tweet, and it is from a woman, a Republican that's running for Congress. So, it's a verified account. It's usually not something I would do on the show anymore, but I just want you to see the level. Anyway, I'm going to read it. Deanna Lorraine. She's running for Congress in the same district as Nancy Pelosi. She's a Republican running against Nancy Pelosi. So obviously she's trying to get some attention. Well, let's give her something. She says some Democrat is going to drink Lysol and poison themselves just to make the news blame Trump. They'll do interviews claiming they are they're part of Make America Great Again, MAGA, and listen to POTUS. Then we'll find out they've donated to Democrats for 5 cycles. This is how fake news stories work. And I'm at a loss here. The reach is the reach to have something. Here's how arguments work. it's very clear on Twitter. And I want to just let you know that this is how it has always worked. It's just not a Twitter thing. What happens is when your side does something extremely stupid, which every now and then everybody does something stupid, everybody's party. I mean, somebody says something stupid, your favorite candidate, your favorite activist, everybody says something stupid every now and then. Not to the level of Donald Trump, mind you. But when your side says something stupid and there's clear to the entire world that you're being led by a complete and total moron like Donald Trump, somebody has to find a way to give your side something to cling to. It's like, can you just throw me a bone here? Give me something that I can hang on to so that I'm not out here in these social media streets just getting embarrassed because we have such an idiot in our White House. So really, a lot of times on Twitter and social media, and this happens on television, mainstream news network, this is why, case in point, if the easiest thing to give you would be the Bloomberg thing. Like when I dropped the Bloomberg audio, the very first thing Bloomberg did was send out one of his henchwomen, and she went on and said, oh, but he's a Bernie supporter. That was all they needed to cling on to dismiss the entirety of what was reality. People are so desperate for special pleading is basically what it is. If you want to know the logical fallacy or what's happening there, it's like people make these ridiculous straw men, these ridiculous arguments just so that they can have some way to interact in the conversation without just constantly being reminded that they are a part of probably the stupidest, most moronic, imbecilic group of cretins to ever walk the face of this planet. I'm really struggling to figure out who's more dumb than the president of the United States who says that you should drink bleach to kill off a virus and his followers who are trying to find a way to excuse him. But this was creative. Here it is again, quote, some dim is going to drink Lysol and poison themselves just to make the new. First of all, they're going to be dead. More than likely, they're not going to survive that, but okay. All right. They'll do interviews claiming that they're part of Make America Great Again and listen to POTUS. Here's the thing. I played the clips yesterday. I don't have to show you how dumb these people are. And I'm sorry for because we're at the point where, listen, I don't need to use creative, flowery language. I used to call them obtuse, intentionally obtuse. Fuck all that. These are just some stupid ass fuckers who would follow Donald Trump to their grave, and they have proven it. I can't help it if you guys only have enough working. And here's it, like, they are intentionally dumb. It's not that as though that they have like any kind of, like, you can't blame this on mental illness. You can't blame this on any kind of cognitive malfunctions. They are just intentionally dumb. Imagine being so committed. Imagine being so committed to an ideology that you are going to put yourself in harm's way. Like literally, now, I'm not talking about picking up arms and going to fight for a cause, even though that to a certain degree could be stupid in some circumstances. Look at American history. I digress. But I'm talking about people who would go out and celebrate and put themselves at risk of dying of the coronavirus. What is it? We're almost a week away from the time they had those protests last Saturday. Just keep watching. You're going to see exactly how utterly stupid conservatives are as they start dropping dead from the coronavirus. And I don't wish that on them. They just brought it on themselves.
We'll make it up. You put us together. We'll make it up. You put us together. We'll make it up. You put us together.
So there's a lot happening in the progressive movement. And I'm getting a little leery about calling it progressive because everybody from Joe Biden to Hillary Clinton call themselves progressive. People like to say, oh, he's going to have the most progressive presidency since Barack Obama. No. But there's a lot of things that are happening in the wake of Bernie Sanders losing his race, a lot of infighting that normally I would be a part of. I honestly, I'm only, this is not the point of the segment. Just bear with me, but I have to acknowledge, can we all acknowledge my personal growth? Because there was a time I would be on the front line of all the fights. I would be on Twitter fighting 6 fights at one time and just just wading my way through all the, the bodies that I left behind me. Like, but I'm not engaging in any of them, not a single one of them. And it's not because I'm above it or better than it, but because I think that there's something far more important for us to fight right now. And that is the fact that we are living in a pandemic in which the ruling elite is really seriously going to try to make us go out into a plague in order to make their bottom line. And I feel that our focus really should be there and almost nowhere else. And this is just my opinion, right? The reason I don't get I'm not getting into any of the squabbles is because I know that we have a common enemy that is as big and actually bigger, quite frankly, than who's going to be the next president. Because no matter who's the next president, if we don't turn this paradigm on its head, we are all going to be vulnerable to the ruling elite's machinations. Right? Their ability. And let's say that we manage to just be able to stay home. Like literally, that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the right to not have to go out into the pandemic. I keep wanting to call it a plague for dramatic effect. Right. But they are pushing us to go back out into this pandemic, which is going to cost the lives unnecessarily so of hundreds of thousands of Americans. We're literally trying to fight to just stay alive. So to me, and because that fight rests solely on the nexus of class divisions and capitalism and exploitation and all the things that we argue and fight for all of these years, to me, I feel like that's the only thing that we should be dealing with. I get it. I'm not trying to tell people what you're going to fight, which, everybody, it's each his own, because I've been there and I've done that. And I'm tempted. I'm often tempted to get into these squabbles, but I'm not, because I think like we're literally in the fight of our lives. And I think the best use of our time and our energy is going to be to find a way to organize all of the people who are coming to the realization of just how entirely evil this economic system and this ruling elite really are. I think that's where our energy. I don't know. You could do more than one thing. In which I'm not saying that the people who are in these inter-left fights can't multitask. I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to lecture you guys. I'm just telling you why it's easier for me now to not fall into the same thing that happened in 2016 after Bernie Sanders lost. Like anytime there's a major political loss, you're going to have a lot of infighting, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of people trying to say we should have done it this way or we should have done it that way. I get it. And I don't know. I haven't gotten to the fights enough to care about who's right and who's wrong, because the coronavirus is upon us. COVID-19 is outside of our door, and the ruling elite are honestly trying to push us back out into the public in order to help them meet their profit margins. I don't see any greater cause. I don't see anything more meaningful. That's one of the reasons I don't even push that hard on this presidential election. I don't even care, because both of them have used the language of reopening America, and we have no point of reference for when. We have no idea when we're actually going to get a vaccine. We're just hoping that there'll be a vaccine within the next 18 months. Nobody is talking about what do we do in the long run. What do we do in the long run here, people? If it takes the full 18 months, who has a plan and a strategy to help us survive in quarantine and social distancing for that long? Their plan is that do or die, you're going to go back to work. And I'm sorry, there's just no part of this economic system that is worth our lives. Period. There's no, you know what? I think that's worth fighting for. You're not going to tell me that in order for me to survive, I've got to go out and die. Does that make any goddamn sense to anybody? That they're going to tell us in order for us to eat, that we have to go out into the plague and a percentage of us are going to have to die when this country has poured trillions of dollars into the markets, into corporations, into bailouts, to billionaires and millionaires. And you're going to tell me that the working class of this country has to go out into the plague and die in order to survive? So I don't really see a purpose for me personally, for us to be engaging in the battles that we're engaging in on the left when we have no greater cause than to bring the attention of the masses to the sheer evilness of this system, of our ruling elite, of both parties, the dereliction of duty, the complete abandonment, the abdication. Where is the Democratic leadership? The complete and total abdication of responsibility. Where are they? There's no greater cause than for us to educate, agitate, and then organize around the fact that the ruling elite of both classes would rather us go out into this pandemic and potentially die than for them to bail us out the way they bailed out Wall Street. All right. That's it for the public show. Patrons, you know what to do. Stay tuned in. Another 30 minutes of content coming after the music. Everyone else, if you want to get access to twice the content with none of the ads, go to patreon.com/the BPD show. And I will see the rest of you on Monday. Take care, everybody. I will see you next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.